Hey, snare drummers, welcome back. Today we're doing solo number 15 in our Alfred's book method. So this solo is going to help us practice or help us refine our skills with our triplets, our 8th note triplets and our 16th note triplets. The solo is in 4/4 time, and there's a slow speed, a fast speed and a slow speed. Well, relatively fast and slow. The beginning of this piece recommends a tempo of 112 beats per minute. We're going to start that a little slower with 100 beats per minute. And then later in the piece, we'll slow that down just a tiny bit. So let's get started and play the first line. It's the introduction to the solo. 1 is a 2, 3 is a 4, 1, 2, ready and go. 1 is a 2, 3 is a 4, 1 is a 2 is a 3 is a 4. 1 is a 2, 3, 4 is a 1 is a 2, and 3. And. Now let's play that first line again. 1 is a 2, ready and go. 1 is a 2, 3 is a 4, 1 is a 2 is a 3 is a 4. 1 is a 2, 3, 4 is a 1 is a 2, and 3. And. In line number 2, we begin a section that has a repeat, and it plays that line and the next line, and that's the first ending. We go back to line 2, and then we take the second ending to continue. For now, let's start in line 2 and play the first ending, repeat, and play the second ending, and stop at the end of the second ending. Here we go, line 2, 3, and a little bit of 4. 1, 2, 1 and 2, and line 2, go. 1 and 2 is a 3 is a 4, and 1 and 2 is a 3. 4 is a 1 and 2 is a 3 is a 4, and 1 and 2 is a 3, 4. 1, 2 is a 3, 4. 1, 2 is a 3, 4. 1, 2 is a 3 first ending. 1 and 2 is a 3. And 1 and 2 is a 3 is a 4, and 1 and 2 is a 3. 4 is a 1 and 2 is a 3 is a 4, and 1 and 2 is a 3, 4. 1, 2 is a 3, 4. 1, 2 is a 3, 4. 1, 2 is a second ending. 1 and 2 is a 3, stop. So if you need more practice with that section, just rewind a bit and work it out. So now we're going to start. Well, we'll start in the second ending because it's the beginning of a line and makes it easy a place to find. We're going to start in the second ending, and we're going to play that line and one measure of line number 5. So we're stopping at the repeat section that is about to come. Second ending, here we go. 1, 2, second ending, go. 1 and 2 is a 3. 1 is a 2, 3 is a 4. 1 is a 2 is a 3 is a 4. 1 is a 2, 3, and 4 is a 1 is a 2, and 3, and a. And with those last two 16th notes, we go into a new section. This section has a first ending and a second ending just slightly further down the page. If you've lost your spot, we're starting in line number 1 from the top, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines from the top, and we're starting in the second measure at the beginning of a new repeated section. We're going to start there, play to the first ending, which is 2 lines down, go back to line 5, and play to the second ending and stop again. So we're playing a component of this middle section. Here we go. 1, 2 16th notes, 1E and a 2, and ready, go. 1E and a 2, and 3, and 4E and a 1E and a 2, and 3, and 4. And a 1E and a 2, and 3, 4E and a 1E and a 2, and 3. 4E and 1 and a 2. 3E and 4, and a 1 and a 2, and 3 and 4, and 1 and a 2, and a 3 and 4, and a 1E and a 2, and 3, back. And a 1E and a 2, and 3 and 4E, and a 1E and a 2, and 3 and 4, and a 1E and a 2, and 3 and 4E, and a 1E and a 2, and 3. 4E and 1 and a 2, 3E and 4, and a 1 and a 2, and 3 and 4, and 1 and a 2, and a 3 and 4, and a 1 and a 2, and 3, 4. Messed up a little bit in that second ending, but it's 1E and a 2 and 3. Now let's start at that second ending and let's play for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures, which takes us to a section called a little slower. We'll stop before we get a little slower though. Second ending, 1E and a 2, and ready, set, go. 1 E and a 2 and 3, rest. 1 is a 2, 3 is a 4, 1 is a 2 is a 3 is a 4, 1 is a 2, 3, 4 is a 1 is a 2 and 3, and is a. Okay, now this next section clearly says a little slower. So we were at 100. I'm going to back off my tempo just a little bit to 80 because we've got these 16th note triplets in here and we want to do this correctly. So we're going to start where it says a little slower and we're going to play to the first ending and stop. Just to the first ending. 1 and is a 2 and 3 and is a 4 and is a 1 and is a 2 and is a 3 and is a 4 and is a 1. 2, here we go. A little slower, ready, go. 1 and is a 2 and 3 and is a 4 and is a 1 and is a 2 and is a 3 and is a 4 and is a 1 and is a 2 and is a 3 and is a 4 and is a 1 and is a 2 and is a 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and is a 4 and 1 and is a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and is a 4 and 1 and is a 2 and 3 and stop. So you should have hit the end of the first ending. Here it goes back to that section a little slower and then it jumps to the second ending. Let's start on the second ending and play to the end of the solo. So let's play the last measure of the second to last line, second ending, and then let's play all of the remainder of the solo, which is the last line of our page. Second ending. Here we go. 1 and is a 2 and ready, go. 1 and is a 2 and 3. And 1 is a 2, 3 is a 4, 1 is a 2 is a 3 is a 4. 1 is a 2, 3 and 4 is a 1 is a 2 and 3 and is a 4. That last measure, 1 is a and is a 2 and 3 and is a 4. Try it with me. Last measure, 1 is and is a 2 and ready, go. 1 is a and is a 2 and 3 and is a 4. Great job. So now you've reviewed this solo. Now it's time to go back and practice linking all of those sections together. Use a metronome. We started out a little slower. We ended a little slower. Find the tempo that's right for you. Be accurate and then build your speed. So until I see you next time, keep drumming.